So this is a revision video on selective breeding, and it's followed by genetic modification or genetic engineering. So to start off with, you've just watched another video. The link is on the screen, and I want you to think about, are all these different breeds of dog one species? How did they get to be so different? So you have 30 seconds to discuss this with your neighbor, and then we will compare notes. So pause the video and off you go. Okay, so it's really important to realize that a species is defined as an organism that is able to be fertile and breed. Okay, so if it is not able to do that, it's not considered a species. But yes, in fact, all of these are of the same species. There is just a huge amount of variation in dogs because they have been selectively bred for different characteristics. So today, we're going to talk about selective breeding as well as genetic modification, and I want you to be able to think about in what way are these two concepts similar and different. So there you get all these different dogs. Some dogs are brilliant at retrieval, some dogs are brilliant at catching rats, so they're used for ratting. Others are very good companion dogs. Some, like the St. Bernard, is brilliant in extreme conditions. So people have over the years bred dogs for these specific traits, and sometimes some of the traits lead to some issues, and that's why there is an organization in the UK that very closely looks at this because of the harm that it could cause some animals. So for example, the British Bulldog with its nose very often has breathing difficulties. Now, what I would like you to do, in your book, your heading Artificial Selection with today's date, all underlined, I would like you to do this. I'd like you to use the words on the right to copy and complete the sentences where I've left gaps, and then I want you to answer this 4-mark question. So this is based on what you've seen in the video, what you've learned over lockdown. If you want sheep that produce lots of wool, how might you go about doing it? I'm going to give you 6 minutes to do this, and after that we are going to restart the video and we're going to compare your answer with mine. Give it your best shot. Okay, so please take your purple pens out so that we can tick if you've got it correct, or if you need to put in a correction, that's absolutely fine. We learn from our mistakes. So let's go. When humans choose certain organisms because they have useful characteristics, such as sheep with thick wool. Okay, hopefully a nice easy warm-up. Now let's see how you did on the next question. The next question is really asking you to outline the process of selective breeding, and they've asked you to apply this to an example where you're looking for sheep that are particularly woolly. So again, using your purple pen. Right, so I put in blue the bits that are very specific to this example that you're applying to, the hairy sheep. So the farmer selects, so he chooses, he looks at all these sheep on his farm and he selects those sheep that are particularly woolly. And he decides he's going to put them together so that they can breed, because they have the allele for woolliness. Those sheep have offspring, and the farmer will then choose the most hairy offspring and use them to breed again. And then your third point, you need to explain that this process happens over several generations, and this makes the trait stronger. And for your fourth point, eventually all the offspring will end up being very woolly sheep. Okay, just notice some of the key words that I've used. And if you need to pause the video to improve your answer, please do. Okay, now you don't need to write this example. Let's just have a look, because they can throw any sort of examples at you. So over here in the middle, we've got a wild cabbage, and actually farmers used selective breeding in order to select traits that ended up creating these variations, these varieties of the wild cabbage. So you've got cabbage there that you might have boiled up for your dinner, cauliflower, who likes a bit of cauliflower and cheese, Brussels sprouts for Christmas, broccoli, and kohlrabi is another example. So they're all different varieties of the same thing. Now, what you need to know is what are the advantages of using this process. So in the middle of your page, you need about 10-12 lines. Write the heading Advantages of Selective Breeding. We're now going to use our rulers to, around the heading, give some of the characteristics that we might selectively breed for. So over here, I might find in my population or in my on my farm, there are particular plants that seem to be resistant to a disease that might be going around. I would want to breed those. Or this bull over here, he looks like he's really chunky. So he would obviously produce a lot of meat. So I might use him because I'll have a greater yield, a greater amount of meat. So yield means amount. Make sure you understand that term. Another example, coping with environmental conditions. This Highland cow, and I love Highland cows, aren't they gorgeous? This Highland cow, because of its thick coat, is wonderful for the Scottish Highlands. We might have a type of corn over here that grows particularly quickly. That would be an advantage. So would size and flavor be. And in fact, corn used to come in all sorts of colors, but we decided at Tesco's, for example, that we like buying yellow corn. So that's why you mostly see yellow corn in the shelves. But to be honest, there are a wide variety of corn growing naturally. You might even, for dogs, for example, we might breed them for behavior or temperament, like this beautiful Cocker Spaniel that we have over here. Right, so I would like you to pause the video, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes to, as neatly as you can with your rulers, copy this down, please. Okay, so those were the advantages of selective breeding. Okay, we get that characteristic on our farm that we are looking for. But now we also need to understand that we need to do this responsibly, because there are disadvantages of selective breeding. I'm going to go through them and then pause the video to give you an opportunity to copy it down. So if I only have yellow corn that I'm growing, I am effectively reducing the gene pool. So there's not the variety of alleles in the population that there used to be. And that's because I've chosen the yellow corn to breed. So that reduces the gene pool. That's the first point. And the second point is there could be a lot of inbreeding. So in the example of the woolly sheep, the woolly sheep were bred and then their offspring were used to breed again. That causes inbreeding, and that could lead to genetic defects. And we sometimes see this in the wild as well, which is a reason why cheetah are endangered. So pause the video to copy these two, and then there's one more to come. Great work. Okay, last one, and this is so important. If there's not variation in that population, if there's suddenly a new disease that comes along, there may not be enough variation to have resistant alleles to the disease, and it could wipe out the entire population. Pause this and copy this down, please. Underlining keywords, lovely word to use there, variation. Brilliant work. You're now going to watch a video on genetic modification before you join me again to make some summary notes on that.